Start the show.
All right, here we go.
The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We'll bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews. I am Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
Yes, we have quite the episode in front of us, and very much looking forward to it. We have joining us from the great state of Virginia, from Lost Barrel Brewing.
I'm Natalie.
Woo, Natalie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, and can't forget.
This is Patrick Steffens, and I'm the general manager and I'm the head brewmaster here at Lost Barrel Brewing in Middleburg, Virginia,
Awesome.
The great state of Virginia.
Great state of Virginia it is. Patrick, thank you for joining us as well.
Well, thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. I'm glad that we could make it work out. I want to say also thank you for, now that we're recording, we said it before. Thank you for being so kind as to ship the beer. Unfortunately, due to weather conditions, Steph is holding the beer in her hands, and it's only with her.
So
I know.
unfortunate.
Oh, darn for you. Oh, darn. I'm jealous. But I guess this just means I have to go to Virginia at some point.
I do want to say that since there are 6 beers, I was like, well, I could open one before we start recording. So, of course, I picked the light lager.
Of course.
And while I was waiting for Wayne to open up the Zoom, I was in the Beer Busters waiting room. I posted a picture of the can on our Instagram feed and our story. And I put a poll on there because I know how to do that because I'm smart, guys. 100% of people said, yes, it was okay for me to drink this beer while I was waiting for you guys before we started.
Well,
so I got
100% of how many people?
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to go on the story
100%.
right now and say no.
It's
Don't
unanimous
even.
here.
The poll
Yeah.
has
That's so
closed.
sweet.
And also the topic of the close is moot because the episode has started.
Exactly. I know. I want to be that one person.
Of course you want to be that one person.
Why wouldn't I? Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. You listening to this right now, besides following along with your ears, you can follow along on the internet. We are
With your virtual ears.
With your virtual ears, also known as eyes. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, we are at Beer Busters. Don't forget Facebook, we're Beer Busters Podcast. There's beerbusterspodcast.com, where you can also add such cool additions to that URL like /shop. There's YouTube, where Beer Busters Podcast on there, and of course patreon.com/beerbusters, where as little as $1 a month gets you access to the behind the scenes feed. You can see the backlog archive. That's the word I've been meaning to use, and I always forget
archive.
that word.
Okay. Archive
of all the older punishment videos and outtakes. And
I prefer
and so on.
annals. The annals of happy fun time punishments are available on Patreon.
There's that word a day calendar again. But yes, patreon.com/beerbusters.
Check it out.
I do want to mention that 2 local breweries have recently released their Brave Noise iteration.
Oh, cool.
I'm sporting my hoodie today. Iron Hill has it in 4-packs at, I think, all of the locations. All the locations I've been to have it. And today, as of recording, on Tuesday, February 8th, Love City is having their release party tonight, which a group of phenomenal women in the beer industry, many of which have been on our show and or are good friends of ours, were part of that brew day. So also the Iron Hill one as well. So if you are a local listener of the podcast, be sure to check those out and support that cause. And if you're not local, let us know what breweries around you are also supporting the Brave Noise Project.
Yes,
so
please do.
Wayne and Dan, get me some cans.
We can work on that.
Get on it.
We can work on that. I will be around Love City Thursday and or Friday. So we can probably
we're
make that
both
happen.
very much more around Love City all the time than Steph is.
True. Very, very true.
That is true. I do have Iron Hill cans for you, so it's only fair that you return the favor.
All right, it's a deal.
I think we can do that. We can definitely do that. There's no thinking. There's no try. It's do or do not. Well, housekeeping out of the way. Like I said, we have a lot we're going to get to. So first and foremost, what I want to know about Lost Barrel Brewing. How long have you guys been around? When did the whole thing start? I know that's a loaded question.
So we opened in December of 2020. So a little over a year ago. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, which was awesome.
Ooh, congrats.
It's fun to see. Oh, thank you. And it's fun to see kind of where it goes in a year. All the different beers we've made. We do a lot of community events. So nice little roundup of all the donations we made, all the fundraisers we've had, all the awesome people we've met. So it's been great. We're excited for year 2.
And so how long was the brewery sort of in planning, at least seriously, before the opening at the end of 2020?
So the property was purchased about exactly a year before we opened. And so a cool thing about the brewery is it is actually on a horse farm. So half of the property is used for horses. It's a working horse farm. So you'll see them in the ring. You can see the stalls. And then half of it is used for the brewery. So after purchasing the property, started construction. So we are in a completely new building. So the building is just as old as we are, which is nice. And then from there, Patrick brewed in his basement and then he brought his productions here.
Patrick, you weren't just a home brewer. You also previously owned another brewery. And then sold it as well. So I think that would be a really good place to start. Patrick, why don't you tell us perhaps how you got interested in beer and your homebrewing experience and your experience opening your first location and how you got to Lost Barrel?
Sure. I started brewing beer like a lot of folks do. I started brewing in my basement as a hobbyist. I got the kits together. I read the Charlie Papazian book on home brewing, and I just went after it, and it really wasn't long before it became a total obsession. I got into it. So that was about 10 years ago. It was around the time that my first child was born. I've got 3 kids now, so I'm running this brewery, and I also got 3 little ones at home. So I stay pretty busy. But that sort of parlayed into opening up my first craft beer operation in Leesburg, Virginia, which is called Loudon Brewing Company. And it was just a small, it was like the mom and pop shop of little nano breweries. I mean, I had tiny little kettles in a small building. I scraped together just barely enough money to pay the first month's rent and then move in some equipment and start brewing beer. But we had such an emerging beer scene here that it really worked out well. It got a lot of community support and people were coming out to drink. I operated that business for a couple years, and that was really where I cut my teeth in the brewing business, learning the business of craft beer, not just, the home brewing and the science of craft beer. I sold that business in 2017. And then shortly after that, I got together with who are now the owners of this place. And we started basically brewing beer in the basement. So that's where, my story sort of picks up with where Natalie left off, where we got together, we started going through recipe creation, but as a private beer club, as a private brewers club, home brewers club. And then we started putting together the plans for this business. And that's when the property became available. And then we started putting together the building plans and the equipment plans and everything. So that whole process, I mean, it took a couple years. We're talking a land purchase had to go down, brand new building had to be stood up. We had to procure all new brewing equipment. We had to outfit an entire tap room with a kitchen and everything. So it did take a little while, but over the course of a year and a half, close to 2 years, we got all the way up to our opening. Now we had to do that all during COVID, right? We put all these plans together, these great plans. We're going to build this awesome farm brewery in Middleburg. It's going to be on this beautiful farm. We got all the investors together, I got the bank account funded, got the building plans approved. And then COVID hit. Of course. It was just nobody knew what was going to happen, right? I mean, it was just a complete shock to everyone. Restaurants, bars, breweries, wineries, they're shutting down. The governors of each state are shutting places down. I think, we were, I don't know if fortunate is the right word, but just the timing maybe was a little serendipitous where we started building, clearing land and building the building in June 2020. Right. Okay. So we're kind of building through the pandemic. So we never had to hire a bunch of people and then furlough them or lay them off or anything. Right. We just hadn't gotten to that point yet. And by the time we got to opening, then many of the restrictions, the heavier restrictions, the one that actually shut places down, those were all gone. There was still the public health concern, but we were at an advantage at that point compared to others because we're on a farm. Yeah. We've got lots of space.
I was going to say you probably have a lot of outdoor space that would,
Yeah. So I mean, as far as how things were impacted by the pandemic, I mean, it almost worked out the best way it possibly could work out. I guess that's a fair way to explain it.
Now, did that impact your? I mean, I know you said pretty much no, but like your business plan as far as like, were you planning on doing packaging right away, or was that a COVID-related decision? Was operations in the tap room affected, or were you able to pretty much execute the plan as it was imagined, like you said, because you kind of were in the building period during the heaviest restrictions? But were there any significant changes to the business plan?
Not significant, not major changes. I mean, we actually always had packaging beer in our plan. Mm-hmm. We did try to, like, when we actually got into it, we did accelerate it a little bit. We tried to bump up the purchase and the commissioning of our canning line and things like that, because everywhere you look, there's just an increase in to-go beer, right? I mean, like, people were ramping up their package beer game to help offset the on-site sales. So we did try to accelerate that a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, it was always part of the plan. So we just tried to execute on that plan as best as possible. I think what we didn't account for is just how much it would impact on-site sales. Now, we were at an advantage, but just nobody really knew what week to week, what were the restrictions going to be? I'm sure in Pennsylvania, there was all kinds of different nuances to the restrictions. We had all kinds of nuances here where it's like, yes, you can be open, but your party sizes have to be 10 or less people, or, something like that. Mm-hmm. And so it was very difficult to plan around some of those things, because as a big space, we wanted to be able to host larger events. Well, those large events just went away. I mean, it was like turning off a faucet, right? Like, you just couldn't have a big event anymore. So we had to, shift and adjust around those things and try to make the experience out here catered a little bit more towards smaller parties that had a chance to sort of separate into their own areas and feel safe. So a little bit of that shifted around. But as far as our production operations, we kind of stuck to our guns on what we wanted to do and how we wanted to roll it out. And I think it worked out pretty well.
I noticed that you're using 12-ounce cans, which I love. That there's been a more recent shift to going back to this packaging size. Are all of your beers canned in 12-ounce cans?
Well, currently they are. I hate to disappoint you on this, but we're shifting over to the 16-ounce cans now.
See, it might disappoint her, but I'm happy to hear that.
Well, I mean, I've got a little, it's not for just no reason at all. It's for good reason, right?
And there we have some of the 16ers.
We started to shift over to the 16-ounce cans. So a few things happened with the 12-ounce can market. One, 12-ounce cans went in very short supply. I know, manufacturers were talking about supply chain issues. That'll be like the buzz phrase for 2021, right? I mean, forever here on out. Aluminum cans were a huge part of that. So the supply on 12-ounce cans specifically just like completely dried up, and the prices went through the roof. You got to think, well, everybody and their brother is buying stuff in 12-ounce cans. It's not just beer. I mean, like Coca-Cola, like everybody has like a monopoly on these cans right now. So the smaller little craft beer brewers that just need like a few pallets of them, it's like you are way down the priority list on where we ship these cans right now. And the prices went so high that it became uneconomical for a small business like us to package into 12-ounce cans. Now, on the flip side of that, 16-ounce cans, they drive a higher value on the shelf. They're a little bit more ubiquitous with craft beer. I know there's a lot of I'll just call them bigger craft beer brands that are pushing hard on 12-ounce cans right now. But if you go to your local specialty craft beer shop, I mean, it's just all 16s all the way across, or maybe some specialty bottles for saisons and bourbon barrel aged stuff. But it's a lot of 16-ounce cans. They're more economical for a small brewery. So one is, just personal preference, right? I mean, some people just like the bigger can versus the smaller can, and I'm not immune to that either. I kind of prefer the bigger can. But two is the economical aspect of it. It just makes more sense to package into those cans and sell those. They just drive a higher price point on the shelf.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever I go to buy beer, if I get a 12-ounce can, I feel like I'm almost kind of cheated out of beer because I'm so used to the 16-ounces. And I know that, you can price them accordingly for the more liquid in the bigger can, but I also feel like for me, the 16 is more bang for the buck, even though the buck scales proportionately.
And I think it goes into I think as a craft beer drinker, you've been conditioned to expect to see craft beer in 16-ounce cans, like you were alluding to. And the ones that you don't see in 16-ounce cans, the ones you see in 12 ounces, like you said, Patrick, are usually the larger, the mid to large size craft breweries. And it's funny because when we started this podcast, 9-10 years ago now, however long ago it was, putting craft beer in cans was like just becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And cans were thought, like we did an episode where we talked about how like beer in cans feels cheap.
That episode is actually, and Steph, I owe you for this, and I don't know if I've ever actually confessed this. I owe you and that episode for me understanding that I prefer my beer in cans. Like Wayne and I are drinking bottles of beer from a brewery here in Philly Yards.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much how they still package and distribute it. But this is the first bottle of beer that isn't like a special one-off or anything that I bought in a very long time.
It's funny how it changes, and it's funny what I was thinking about when you're talking about how the larger craft breweries plus soda and everything else comes in a 12-ounce can is that now the shift is like perception has changed again, and now when you see a beer in a 12-ounce can, you assume it's a large brewery, and if you see a 16-ounce can, you assume it's a small craft brewery. It's just weird how we make these associations.
Yeah, and the pricing. I mean, there's two sides to my job here, right? One is the creative side, right? Mm-hmm. I get to mess around with all the recipes and do product research and development and things like that, right? That's the fun part. There's also a GM aspect of it where I got to look at our packaging strategy and our go-to-market strategy and how is this going to be priced versus other things on the shelf? Like what's the perception there from a customer perspective, that kind of thing. And that's really where it comes into play. So, if you're going up on the grocery store shelf, right, against like Sam Adams and Dogfish Head and Fat Tire and, or New Belgium, right. And some of the bigger ones, it's like as a small craft beer brewery, you're never going to be able to compete with the kind of scale and the lower cost point that they have to put that beer out at a lower price point, right? Like they're going to just price you right off the shelf. But there is more flexibility in that sort of 16-ounce can shelf of like local craft, Mm-hmm. So if like you can go there, I mean, you go to craft beer shop, it's $15.99,
mm-hmm.
for a 4-pack. My wife goes to this. She went to a craft beer shop. It's actually a wine shop called the Library. I want to call it the Library, right? Because of the beer. But it's actually the Library in Leesburg, Virginia. And she bought a couple 4-packs one was from a local brewery here called Mustang Sally. They're a good brewery around here. I think they're in like the Fairfax area, which is not too far. And then she bought one from Commonwealth and then one from someplace out like in the Midwest. I don't even know. They were $24 a 4-pack. She brought two 4-packs home and it was a $50 purchase.
No.
And I said, "Oh my God, there is no ceiling to these prices."
No, they're really,
it's crazy.
There's a couple breweries here in Philly and I guess Pennsylvania as a whole that will charge that much for 4-packs, and I have to roll my eyes every time. I'm sure the beer is delicious. Don't get me wrong. There are people who go crazy for it, but
well, there's so many like ineffable factors that go into pumping up what people are willing to pay for a specific beer, well beyond how well it's brewed and how good it actually is.
Right.
Sure.
And it's amazing. I mean, people wait in line all day for cans of beers and all kinds.
Do people still wait in line?
Well, I don't know if they do now, but they used to.
Right. Well, yeah. Pandemic
yeah,
aside.
I know some folks that used to wait in line at some of the places that started around here, like especially when they were up and coming and starting to get real popular, and people were trading beers, up and down the coast, like stuff that you had to go get in person. When it comes to how these things are priced and the kind of the demand for them and things like that, there are extremes out there. Like you can find extremes all over the marketplace. We don't want to be one of those statistical outliers. That's not really like our strategy. Like we want to fit, in a respectable place on the shelf, right? Where, we feel like we've got a great product. We feel like, Our customers can get a lot of value at it. We don't want them to, we don't need to be the most expensive thing out there. We want to be in line with the other craft beer, the local craft beer that's out there, so that it's accessible, right? But it's also like it's a quality product, and that's really the strategy that we're using when we go to market. And there's just more wiggle room in the 16-ounce can market than there is in the 12-ounce can market. It's just very, very tight on the 12-ounce can side. So that's why we're shifting to the 16-ounce cans.
Makes sense.
Sorry, Steph.
I also want to talk about the branding. It's really simple, but modern and eye-catching. And you talked about, being on the shelf, and now more than ever, like, I know that we say don't judge a book by its cover, but honestly, your eyes have to, the beer has to catch the attention of your eyes first, unless you're looking for something specific. So, Natalie, I know you are sort of like, have the graphic design background and marketing and such. Was the branding all you? And what's your role in that?
So yes, the branding is me. I did not make the logo. The logo was created when Patrick was still doing the home brewing, because he used Lost Barrel Brewing as his name for the home brewing. And so the name and logo came from his end. I know he had some help on designing that. In terms of the can, we liked the matte kind of type of can because it's different. It's very clean. We have a tap room that's very, I wouldn't say like modern, but very like farm chic. And so those types of colors really play into the, not like type of basic, but the classic colors with a little bit of a twist. So that's what we have gone for the cans. We are in our smaller batches, one-off cans, we do have different types of designs. For those, we still go with the kind of the same idea where it is, so it's a lot of white space and type of patterns, kind of going for like the wallpaper themed. I don't know if that like portrays as well, but something you would see as like a modern, maybe 70s style pattern with a lot of white spaces, where we're going for the one-offs, not our typical beers.
I really like the cans a lot. They're definitely eye-catching, and the one-off cans, they kind of remind me of Three's Brewing in Brooklyn, New York. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I love their lagers, and side note, I love that I can now get their beer shipped to my house, which is amazing. One of the plus sides of the pandemic. But I always loved their branding, especially in a world where cans are everything from the most insane pieces of art. I find like something just like, I am a minimalist, I guess, a little bit when it comes to like design aesthetics. So I think that's why I'm attracted to that sort of art. And I mean, I would love to have that on canvas, just like hanging in my bar or something.
Yeah, we definitely have the minimalist approach to it. And for that, it makes it a lot different, because I feel like when you go see cans on shelves, people come up with the coolest designs. And for us, we wanted something simple, classic, very minimalist, because it kind of goes with our beer naming. You know, we don't come up with these crazy names for beer. If you're getting a lager, you're getting a lager. If you're getting a hazy IPA, it's called the hazy IPA. So it does go along with our overall branding of keeping it nice and simple.
So what was your path to Lost Barrel? Where were you before jumping into the beer world?
So I was in the graphic design and social media marketing realm of things. So when the idea came about, it was a nice, easy transition over. So I get to use a lot of my skills. I do all the photography, all the videos, social media, can design, in-house design of menus and signs. So it's a nice fit. I get to do a little bit of everything every day. Very random on what I do. So I really like it. It's pretty cool.
Well, before you guys jumped on, I actually brought up the social media to Wayne and Dan. Your social media presence is very attention grabbing. You guys have some really fun videos, interactive stuff in there, and some great posts. And you kind of look at it and you're like, I kind of want to go there and hang out with those people and drink that beer, which I kind of have a feeling is purposeful with your background.
Yeah, we're going for a lifestyle type of social media approach. I feel like, you know, we are a lot more than just the beer. While the beer is a main huge focus and why people come in. I like to say, have really good beer, but we do have this really awesome atmosphere going on in the tap room. And that's what we're trying to show on social media, that while you come here, you're going to get great beer or a hard seltzer or whatever else we have. And you're also going to get a great meal. You're going to enjoy your time. So it's definitely all the things coming in one. We have a boutique. So we're a little bit different than what other people do. So definitely more towards like the lifestyle of the brewery.
I'm glad you brought up the boutique because I love to shop.
I was
Can
gonna
you
ask
talk
about this
about
too.
that? That's something
Yes.
that's super unique.
So it's super fun. So
Oh no, we lost you.
We lost you.
there you go. So my mom is actually who does the boutique. She used to be the head fashion buyer for Nordstrom's.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And then
cool.
she
Whoa.
had kids. Yes. So then she had kids and she retired. And she came out of retirement to do our boutique. So not only do we have logo gear, but we have some really cool eclectic finds, from dresses to purses, boots, jewelry, home finds. So a lot of just random things in there that just come together because she's very talented at what she does. So she presents it in a really cool way. I mean, you have people from all ages, all walks of life that shop here. It was really fun. Right before the holidays, we had a day where there was like maybe 5 or 6 men that came in and just shopped for their wives. It was really cool. That we were like, oh, they saw it because they came and got beer with their family and they knew where to go get a gift, that they would be having someone to help them. So it's a really cool aspect. That's different. I can show you it. It's over here. We have our beer to go there, obviously, and then all the other fun items in there. Always changing.
That is a really cool idea. So it's not just like, your branded merch, but you can find all kinds of cool finds there. That's really cool. All kinds of things going on. I want to know more about this horse farm. I know we mentioned it at the top and kind of moved on to beer, and that's fair. But so it's half a horse farm, half a brewery. Are they interconnected? Are there cross-pollinating activities? What's the setup?
There's not cross-pollinating activities.
They love the beer.
Can you get a DUI on a horse?
Yeah,
Horseback riding
I don't
DUI?
think we're going to test it. They are living animals, so we try to keep them separate as much as possible. You can see them from the porch, and you can watch them hanging out in the area and people riding them, but we do not offer like scheduled horseback riding,
Right.
For
Keep
the
it separate.
safety of our customers, but probably
And the
more
horses.
for the safety of the
Right?
horses.
Yeah, I was gonna say more
Right.
for the horses.
Well, you could do like a petting zoo kind of thing. 'Cause I know your website mentions that you guys are family friendly and bring the kids out and everything. That could be a cool way to integrate the two. Mom and dad have a beer while they're watching little Johnny run up and pet a pony.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. The area that we're situated in is actually called Hunt Country. So we are in the middle of so many horse farms. Like as you drive out here, left and right, there's horse farms galore. So it's an interesting atmosphere that we have here. A lot of the businesses are really focused towards the horse and the horseback riding industry. So it's really fun. We do a lot of cool horse related events. There's something in Middleburg called the Middleburg Hunt. And it's a group that gets on their horses. They wear these like really cool, pretty outfits, and they have the hounds and they hunt for foxes. And so they've hunted off of our property before. Middleburg is very interesting. It's really cool. It's very random.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's neat. I mean, we've talked to and been to a couple breweries that are like on farms or a part of a farm and all that, but it's usually just a lot of open land and that's about it. But the fact that there's actually like active husbandry, I guess is what it's called, going on. Is that what you call the rearing of horses?
Equestrian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
equestrian, activities. But that's pretty cool to be able to sip a beer and look out and see horses. That's really unique.
We're in the farm brewery business here, and it's really what I like to say is that we're in the agricultural tourism business is really what we're into. That's where the beer industry, or that's one of the avenues that the beer industry is headed, where similar to wineries as like a destination kind of place, the farm brewery business in general is really starting to take off. This area has probably 9 or 10 of them just in our county, probably 20. And if you go out to like our neighboring counties and things like that, it's an important part of the state's strategy to keep some of the agricultural land undeveloped. I mean, like we put a building here and we make beer here, but that's different than developing it for like a 400 person community. You know what I mean? Like, so there's an aspect to utilizing the land for agricultural purposes. And then, the farm brewery aspect of it is like, we do grow some of our own ingredients. We use that in our brewing process. And that helps keep the land dedicated to agricultural use. It just so happens that the primary use of our land is actually equestrian based,
right.
Which is kind of cool and unique to the area. It gives us like a nice tie to the local area that we're in.
Yeah, and you're right. The movement. Pre-COVID, it was a huge topic of conversation on our podcast. How breweries that were proving to be the most successful in recent years were the ones that did kind of return to a hyper local focus, a local destination, and really representing the immediate community they're in, rather than what I think like in years past, maybe in like early 2000s, there was a lot of expanding, craft breweries becoming regional and all of this. And then as the market became super crowded, everybody said, we have amazing communities right here in our backyard, and focusing on that and becoming, a local spot to shop, to eat, to hang out and drink, and to look at horses, and to appreciate the fruits of the land that you're on. I mean, it's a really cool experience. And it's really neat.
Yeah, local craft beer has always had some kind of novelty to it, right? I mean, like having a place in your backyard, relatively speaking, that produces beer it's a neat part of any community. And that manifests itself in a bunch of different ways, right? So it could be like a small pub in town and they have their own brew system and they make their own beer, and that's a really cool experience. Or it could be it's a larger sort of manufacturing kind of operation and they're like in an industrial setting because they really want to, maximize the production capabilities of their facility and get beer out into the market. And even there's even some tourism aspect to that, right? Where, people will, I like to say the diehard craft beer folks, like you could be in the deepest, darkest dungeons of like an industrial park. They'll find you and they'll go drink beer next to the dumpster. They don't care. Like they're going to find you. Right. But as the industry evolves, the novelty starts to wear off a little bit, and then it just like grows in different directions. Mm-hmm. And so, now there is kind of a novelty to having a destination experience out of the brew that's coupled with the brewery experience, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that's really something that we're trying to tap into. And I think that's been an advantage of ours in this area, is that we draw people from a very large metropolitan area. The DC metro area is actually very big and expands out very wide. DC in and of itself is not that big of a city. Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't been, I mean, it's a beautiful city to visit. It's everything you've seen on TV. You get to see all the monuments and all that great stuff. I mean, it's a great city, but it's not that big of a city. And it's really like the greater metropolitan area expands into Virginia and into Maryland. And it just goes and goes and goes and goes because, the further out you go, the more opportunity there is to just continue to develop businesses and develop land and things like that. And we're actually now we're far enough to the northwest of DC where we are out in the sticks, right? Like we are past all the developments. It's just the farmland out here. And so what that's turned into is we have a great spot. It's a beautiful spot, like Natalie described. You've got all the horses. It's very quaint. It's very cute. The town is amazing, but it is within a day trip of Washington D.C. Right? So, like you could drive out for the day, hang out in the town, come by, have a beer, have some food, and make it back home later that afternoon. Mm-hmm. You bring the whole family out, and have a great experience. And that is the kind of tourism aspect that we're trying to tap into, within this craft beer movement that's happening right now.
One really cool thing for us is we are surrounded by so many different wineries and breweries. So like Patrick said, we're only a day trip from DC, and it makes it really nice because you'll get people that will rent a bus and go stop at all the different places, or will just, drive on their own. And it makes a really cool Virginia tourism aspect in this area. A lot of the wineries and breweries love to work together and create all of these cool things where it's all partnerships and seeing how you can work with each other instead of against each other, which is a really cool aspect of this area because there's so many different places, and it's really nice that they all have their own property and are a nice enough distance, but still work together.
Do you guys do any kind of, or have you considered or thought about doing like a beer trail kind of thing? I know a lot of places where there are.
That's funny you said that. So in Middleburg, we had the Foxes Trail. The Fox are very prominent in Middleburg. And it was in the Middleburg proper. It was 2 breweries, a restaurant, and then I think 4 other wineries. And you had 3 weeks because it was 7 places in total. I believe we weren't going to promote going to all of them in one day. Yeah. But if you wanted to, you could, but you had a certain amount of time to do it. And if you stopped at all of them, you had this little stamp card, you got a stamp at each one. And at the end you got a gift bag. And then we gave away gift cards too. So that was really cool. So stuff like that is just how they work together, and people loved that. We're going to do it again next year. Yeah. So it was awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, just from listening to you guys talk about the business and everything, it just feels like the kind of vibe that fits is sort of engaging with the other breweries and local businesses in the area and create like a cool little experience for people to have. That's awesome.
Earlier you mentioned not just beer, but you also have the hard seltzers too. Is that something you guys always wanted to do, or is that just something you decided to do because the industry was sort of trending that way and it became the cool thing to have? If I'm a drinker, you go out and have a beer and have a seltzer and take somebody with who doesn't like beer. I feel like it's a benefit to the beverage enjoying community, let's say, instead of just the beer drinkers. Because if I have friends who don't like beer, traditionally I couldn't take them to a brewery because there's nothing there for them. So the fact that you have the hard seltzers helps. But I guess, was that something you always had planned, or did that just was that one of the pivots that you had to make?
We always had it planned, but not because I would be lying if I said that I was, waking up every morning saying, I'm going to make the best hard seltzer today. That's what I want to do. We got into it, for the reasons that you just described, right?
Okay.
We wanted to give people a good option if craft beer wasn't a good option for them. And for whatever reason, could be they just want something lower calorie, could be gluten sensitivities or something like that, right? I mean, whatever that is, we didn't want those people to feel like they were singled out if they were coming here, or that if they were brought here, that there wasn't an option for them. So, my passion is really in beer making and experimenting with the different beer styles. But I think even bigger than that is my desire to give the people what they want. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because that's really what it's all about. So there's certainly ample opportunity in the beer making process to experiment with different styles, make great products, and really give people an enjoyable experience. And to expand on that, we started doing the hard seltzers. And then that brought other folks in that wouldn't normally have an option if they had here. And that's an important part of the entire experience. We're trying to be cognizant of the fact that the folks that take that day trip from DC or even sometimes even further that come out here, they may not be coming here because they're on some kind of brewery excursion, right? They may just be in tow with somebody else that, their mom or dad or brother or sister or something wants to take everybody out to this place that they heard was really cool. So, craft beer may not be something that they're really into, and maybe they can't get into because of, some kind of health issue or something like that. And so that it was an important option for those folks. But we make it all on our system here. I mean, we do the best job that we can with it. We run it through our brew house. We ferment it all on site. We use the highest quality purees and things like that we can get our hand on. We try to make a really high quality product. I used to joke with the brewing crew that I can't tell you how many hours I've spent trying to go through the chemistry of these hard seltzers because they're so different than beer. The brewing chemistry is different. Brewing has been perfected over thousands of years. Now, but the malt and the hops and the yeast, they all just blend together perfectly. It's this wonderful mix. And then here's this hard seltzer. It's like there's no malt, there's no nutrients, there's no nothing, but you got to figure out how to get it to ferment and then clear and get it nice and fizzy, and it's got to be all fruity. And but we I think point being, like, we don't just throw it together. Like, we went deep on the science on it and tried to get good representations of hard seltzer so that people would see the quality in that product, the same as our craft beer drinkers see the quality in our craft beer products.
Of course. What was going through your mind the first time you brewed one after going through the science? Like, was it nerve-wracking? Was it I got this? Was it like, hey, let's see?
The first time it just didn't ferment. So Steph, I don't know if you've gotten into this at all, because you're I think I was reading up on you. I think you're kind of the beerologist of the group, right?
Most definitely.
Oh yeah.
The first time it just didn't ferment. I was like, well, what the heck? Because I was used to mashing and sort of the enzyme breakdown just sort of makes this perfectly fermentable liquid for the ale and lager yeast. We're using like an ale yeast to ferment it. And then what I found out is like, well, yeah, with the hard seltzers, the base doesn't have as much nutrients, so you got to feed it nutrients during the fermentation process, and then it's going to fizz up too much, and then the carboxylic acid from the extra CO2 is going to drop the pH, and then that's going to inhibit the yeast growth and things like that. So it just kind of went on and on and on. So the first time I did it, it was a complete dud, right? and then finally, like after batch 2, 3, I started really digging into the science of it, and then we put together like the exact process of, okay, these are the steps, these are the nutrients we need to add along the way to ensure like healthy fermentation. This is when you add the fruit. This is how you account for spikes or dips in acidity, pH levels and things like that. Here's how you counteract that. So it was definitely a learning process, and fortunately we worked out most of those kinks pre-startup, like while we were experimenting in the basement, trying to figure out the best process.
Cool.
I'm curious, when you said about digging into the science of brewing seltzers, coupled with the fact that beer has been perfected over many millennium, did you reach out to other brewers? Because I know a lot of brewers will share trade secrets, tips, ingredients with each other in craft breweries, and I'm curious if there are a lot of craft brewers, now that seltzers have been popular for a while, sort of trading secrets on that, or did you kind of do your own research?
So a little bit of both. There wasn't anybody here locally that was doing them well. Okay. Everybody was kind of trying to learn at the same time.
Fair.
So I didn't really have anybody locally here that I could just be like, dude, how are you doing this? What I did is I did start reading up. The Brewers Association started posting a lot of information, basically. Mm-hmm. So they published an entire book, How to Make Hard Seltzers. And then when the CBC conferences, at the Craft Brewers Conference, and when what's the other? There's when any of the Brewers Association conferences were like canceled and went online for COVID, they were just releasing webinar after webinar after webinar, and a lot of it was around hard seltzers because everybody was kind of asking the same questions and like scratching their heads over these unfermented batches of like corn sugar and things like that. Like I couldn't figure out what to do. So a lot of information was released around that time. It was very timely because that was the time where we were going through the R&D to try to get our process down for it. So Brewers Association and Home Brewers Association, for that matter, I know those two are kind of tied together. Yeah. Man, they're great resources for any brewer. Anybody out there that's interested in home brewing, or any home brewer that's interested in going pro, the Brewers Association puts together a tremendous amount of information. They frequently bring in experts in the field to talk about different, just the nitty gritty details of how you do X, Y, and Z. I mean, they're just a great resource.
Yeah. Do you
are you guys canning? That's exactly what I was just going to ask. You guys,
yeah. Do you package? Do you can the seltzers?
I have a question. Do you guys can the seltzers?
We have not canned the seltzers. Now we may can some this year, but we haven't started canning them. Most of our canning has actually been focused on what are the beers we're going to take to market. We do sell cans out of our tap room here. Like we have a fridge and you can buy some of our beer that's canned up here. But a lot of the discussions and focus has been on the packaging side, well, like, what kind of beers are we going to take to market? And unfortunately, when you start getting into the hard seltzer discussion, that market is just so crowded. It's just so flooded with all the macros. I mean, you walk into a store now and you got like your Corona hard seltzer and your Coors hard seltzer. And, Sam Adams has got their Truly hard seltzer. And
right,
they're even saying that like, oh, we overextended ourselves on this business line. It's actually, retracting now. The honeymoon is over and people aren't buying this stuff anymore. It's now the market's now shrinking on it. So when it came to an actual like a go to market strategy, we're like, let's just pump the brakes on the seltzers. Now will we can them and sell them out of our tap room here? Yeah, sure, probably, for a few of our options here, just so that we have something that folks who do visit like could take home with them, that kind of thing.
Yeah. On the design side, if you do package them, do you think you'll keep the matted kind of minimalistic look with the cans, or would you do something different to kind of differentiate them to the consumers coming in?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think I would probably keep it along the lines of the same design, but probably play with where the name and logo is placed. I think that's what I would do to differentiate it. And we have some cool designs. We have a wild berry sour that's a can coming up soon, and that's a little different than our other. It's a little bit less white space. It's like this 3D looking kind of thing. So I feel like I'd go with maybe more of a design along the same lines with the colors, but switching where the placement is, really, probably.
So, they say that the key to being a successful entrepreneur is just surround yourself with a lot of people that are smarter and more talented than you, right? I mean, that is key. And so Natalie is definitely a great example of that. Like when it comes to the marketing, the social media, the branding and things like that. So our packaging and branding is evolving a little bit. Our initial strategy, like this is the hazy IPA can. This is actually a label that we had rolled on. It's a little different than the kind of shrink wrap labels. But we went very minimalistic. We went very classic. We went very simple. And the reason that we did that is because we were just entering the market with a new product. Everything out there is there's a lot of creative people in craft beer, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, for sure.
The naming, the designs and things like that. So you go into a craft beer store and the entire shelf is like, it's like a Jackson Pollock painting, right? And it's just like this crazy array of all these designs. And we thought, well, if everybody is zigging in that direction, what can we do to zag, right? Like, and we were like, well, what if it was just really simple? And like, you could just immediately see on the label, like, this is the kind of beer that this is, and this is the brewery that it's from. Let's just start with that, and let's see how that goes. So we did that, and we've seen some success with it. I appreciate the feedback about, just kind of the classic design and how it's like very easily distinguishable. That's exactly what we were going for with this design, or this design approach. Now we're evolving just like all breweries and all businesses are evolving. So as we get further into it, we're finding opportunities to take that, kind of simple, classic styling and jazz it up a little bit, right? And change it in a way where now the artwork, is a good representation of whatever's in the can, but still has some prominent features where you can tell where it was made, you can tell what it is. I mean, I'm a craft beer mark, just like a lot of us are, right? And one of the things that drives me crazy is you'll go to the store and you'll pick up a 16-ounce can, and it's like, I don't know what this is. Like, I gotta hunt for like what kind of beer is this even.
And you know what's interesting about that? One very common characteristic of a craft beer drinker is they want to act like they know everything. And I actually thought about this when I was in one of my favorite local beer bars / bottle shops a few weeks ago, and they had gotten some new cans in, and I knew what brewery it was because I recognized the art. But I will tell you, I had a hell of a time trying to figure out what kind of freaking beer this was, and you feel like an idiot standing there, like turning the can around, trying to hold it up and get some sort of light. Like, you seriously feel like an idiot. And it made me think, like, a lot of craft beer drinkers like to act like they know everything, and that moment of stupidity when you can't even figure out what you're holding in your hand. I'm like, that's not good marketing. I'm sorry. So thank you for
I
that.
think it's kind of maybe because I didn't come from the beer world with my type of marketing that it kind of sets us apart because I didn't do beer before here. I did. So that's kind of maybe what helps make us a little different.
Yeah, and I really like looking at very creative, innovative, different packaging design in general, but specifically beer on Instagram. But when I'm in the store, I want to be able to look at a package and say, "Oh, this is the beer in it, and this is where it came from." So yeah,
and there are breweries that do it really, really well. Where if you just look at the art, it is about the art and the name of the beer, but they always have that same spot on the label where you know to turn and look, and that's where the beer name and the description and the ABV and all that pertinent information that you want to know about a beer before you commit to it is located. But some of these cans, it's like.
Yeah, brand recognition is key. Keeping everything in the same place, but switching what's in it is like super. I have found what helps, especially when you're shopping for anything. As if you've seen that logo, that name, that style, whatever it is, you're more likely to buy it. You have to, I think, see something like 4 times or 5 times to want to buy it. So that's where if you see that brand, like you did when you were at the beer shop, you knew what it was. So a lot of places, are doing a phenomenal job at it. And so we definitely get our inspiration as well from other places too.
So it goes back to what you said, Patrick, about the talents of the people that you work with. It is so important to be surrounded with people, not only that are smarter than you, but also have talents that you don't have. The people that know the marketing and the design, the people that know how to make a really freaking awesome boutique and know what kind of products to put in there, and the people that know the business side and the beer side and figuring out how to make a seltzer, which is 100%. Not something I'm interested in figuring out, but it's really interesting to hear you talk about it and your journey to try to perfect that.
Yeah, 100%. And, Natalie takes on a lot of responsibility when it comes to the evolution of our branding and how that is going to play out when we create new products and as we're creating new designs and we're trying to maintain some consistency in our just kind of like the core information that we present on the shelf, but also leave some room for fun artwork and artistic license, right? I'll just put it that way. And that's a huge advantage to have somebody like that on your team. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to social media and things like that, we got together and we really talked about like, what is our strategy going into social media and our marketing? And from day one, it was always around the experience of craft beer. I like to think that when it comes to the marketing of a particular brand, take Nike, for example, right? Like Nike doesn't sell you shoes. Nike sells you the vision of you being an athlete. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's really what they're trying to sell you. And that's why they get such brand loyalty, So we wanted to go in and take a page out of that book and think, well, what do people really want to get out of drinking this beer? Why would they even drink it? They want to get together. They want to have fun with their friends and family. They want an excuse to just kind of unwind, unplug, just enjoy kind of one of life's simpler pleasures for a little while, not be bombarded with emails, tell funny stories, whatever it is, right? They just want to have a good time for a little while. Or, sometimes they want to, sometimes they want to get wild. Sometimes they just want to relax. But, essentially it's just, you just want to have a good time with it. And it's like, well, when it comes to our marketing and our social media presence, that's the messaging that we really want to convey to folks is that, if you're enjoying our product here, this is the experience that you could have. If you're enjoying our products elsewhere, this is the feeling that we want you to have and the excuse that we want to give you to enjoy the product. You know what I mean? So getting very good marketing minds together to like kind of brainstorm that is really great. And that's been one of the most valuable experiences of working with the team that we have here.
Very cool.
I know we're at the point where we're getting close to game time. But I did want to mention while I was looking at your very attractive website, I did want to comment on that. It is a very beautiful website. You have a mission and values page on your website. And I know that there are a lot of breweries that are, well, maybe not a lot, but there are breweries out there that are starting to make this an important part of their brand by posting things like this or code of conduct or something, just to show that, we believe in certain values, which are important. And I think in light of a lot of the things that have sort of unfolded in the craft beer world over the last year or so. So talk about maybe the inspiration behind these mission and values and how that relates to your brand.
Yeah, I'll start with that. So we are a family owned and operated brewery. So a lot of the stuff we do comes down to creating a family environment that's welcome. And I think that's where the mission and values really boil down to, is kind of creating that environment for our staff where they feel welcomed, supported, like they can talk to us, and that we're all here together.
Yeah, I think when it came to putting that together, we felt it was a very important thing to convey to our internally to our company, but also to our customers, that this is the kind of standard that we hold our folks to. And so you should expect this of us because this is what we expect of us. There's nothing earth shattering in there. It's like, just be courteous, be helpful, kind of listen to people's needs, try to give everybody that comes through here a great customer experience, But the common thread through all of that is making sure that our customers who come here have a great, worthwhile, valuable experience out of the whole thing. And that's something that has been just sort of integral to our entire strategy. When we look at the craft beer industry overall, there's a lot of talk about like making beer a communal thing, and it helps build communities, and it's a great excuse for people to get together. And sometimes that doesn't always translate through the operations at some breweries in some places, where that may be the thought of the ownership, but then you actually show up and you've got cans and you can't tell what the heck they are, or you've got a board with a bunch of cryptic acronyms on them and you don't know what it is, and you feel like you need a PhD in craft beer to like actually buy a beer at some of these places. And then you've got staff that are treating you like it's it's your privilege to drink their beer. That's always something that like rubbed me the wrong way about certain breweries. I'm not going to call anybody out specifically, right? I mean, we can omit names to protect the innocent here, but
are they innocent though?
Yeah, but it always was a sticking point with me that you had a lot of folks saying one thing and then their operations didn't reflect that. And so having our mission statement focused, centered around customer service, centered around making sure that everybody is focused on creating a good experience around here, and that the staff are aligned on that vision, and that our customers are also aligned on that expectation of our staff. We felt that was an important thing to put out there. And I think it's resonated very well, with everyone. So we have it posted like right at our front door, like right at our main, where you go up and order a beer. I mean, it's right there for everybody to read. It's on our website. You saw it on our website. It's there. I think we published it to social media and maybe a few other channels. So We're not hiding it, is the point. Like we want people to see it. And we want people to see that we take it seriously and that we expect our entire everybody in our operation to act a certain way towards each other and towards our customers.
Well, and it sounds like you're not just posting it, but you're also living it, which I think is the important thing, that it isn't just something that's posted somewhere. And you brought up a really interesting point, which I think is sort of a negative side to craft beer that we don't often have a conversation about. And it is that feeling of being superior to someone else because perhaps you are serving a certain beer or something about the beer, and just that like I don't know, like that quiet bullying perhaps.
Sure.
Whether it is staff doing it to a customer or even the other way around. I mean, I have witnessed the beer drinker trying to do it to staff. And usually, when you're the employee and you're the one serving the beer, you kind of just smile and, the customer's always right. But, there does need to be this mutual respect. And at the end of the day, like, it's beer and it's meant to be communal and it's meant to be something that brings people together. And I think it's important to have this mentality that we're not going to act that way. Like, this is beer, we're going to treat each other with respect. And it makes me reflect upon a few places that I don't frequent anymore. And I think it is because there was that mentality.
Yeah.
I don't know, like
craft beer drinkers put up a lot, put up with a lot, as far as the well, this is just kind of a novel thing. And so I'm going to go to this place and they're going to operate a little bit differently because they're craft beer people. And you just kind of accept that. But it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going into a place, like being welcomed as you come in. And if you have questions, or if you want to just try something before you buy it, or if you're just not certain about a beer style or what it's all about, having somebody like eager to help guide you through that. I mean, we're selling beer here, right? Like, do you want to sell it or not?
Right. Yeah.
And I wonder if just creating that sort of culture around beer also helps to create a safe and respectful environment as a whole for the people that are in the space, from employee to employee, from customer to customer, and across those lines as well. Just reflecting back about all the stories and all the things that we keep talking about and keep coming out, like there are certain places where I know of negative things that have happened, and I just think about that culture and that feeling of when you walk in, like, oh, I should feel privileged that I'm here drinking this beer. I should feel lucky that I got my hands on this product, or like,
I'll tell you, it is the privilege of the person producing the beer to sell the beer to the customer. I mean, I think I don't know how you can explain it any other way, right? Yeah. So I think what you would find is that the proprietors of a lot of the places that you're talking about, maybe some of the examples that you have, firsthand experiences that you have, they would probably tell you the same thing. But it just doesn't always trickle through the organization, maybe because of poor leadership or just bad follow through or whatever it is, right? It may be in their head, but it doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't manifest itself in the operations of the business. So we've made a specific focus on making sure that it trickles through the organization, basically. And we spent the time and effort and training and coaching and things like that, and communication, right, to our staff and to our customers, to make sure that folks know that is the expectation. And I hope that people come visit us and then take that with them to other places, right? And be like, well, this place is really setting the bar for like how we should be treated as customers, and like maybe that will sort of shift the dynamic over to a more customer service centric experience out of this industry than a, well, I don't know. I don't have a good term for it, but like, an experience that lends towards giving your customers some inferiority complex,
right. Yeah, just creating an atmosphere where there's just mutual respect. And like, sure. I don't know, like you just just be like, on here, it says, I think your last one is be kind.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. My favorite one on there is being optimistic. I'm a huge proponent of this, where it's, optimism is contagious. So if you have a positive attitude, like the people around you will feed off of that positivity. So it's like, well, if you're on our staff, do that, right? Like just be positive. Like, don't be a grump when you're going to talk to people. Be positive, be enthusiastic about the products that we have, be enthusiastic about the experience that we have. People will feed off of that and they'll have a better experience here, because that positivity is contagious. It will lift somebody else's spirits if you're really, if you convey some optimism to them,
Yeah. That's one of those.
He's not lying. On our exit sign, he put smiley faces.
Nice.
Have a good day. Yeah. Smiley faces. We're all like, who did that?
That's funny. But yeah, that is one of those phrases that kind of, positivity is contagious. Sounds like a motivational poster that you're just kind of like, yeah, okay. But it is really true. It's like one of the. It's like this. It reminds me of the thing that I mean, I don't know where I heard it, but that like if you actually just physically smile, you will actually feel a little happier. Like even if you're forcing yourself to smile, it actually works. It sounds silly, but it actually works. So my favorite thing on the list though is take pride in making the lives of those around you a little bit easier, because that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, which is from podcast legend John Hodgman. he likes to say, "Be mindful of the work you leave behind for others."
Yeah,
which is a similar
exactly.
kind of sentiment, and I like that.
So there's like nobody in our organization that is not expected to take the trash out every once in a while,
Right.
or or whatever it is. Like
Yep.
we'll get back there and wash the dishes or anything. You know what I mean? Like if it's a way that we can make someone else's life easier, then we just do it, right? Because we want to help each other out while we're here. I like to consider myself as the pressure relief valve, right? Like when things get busy here and I have to help out in the tap room, wherever the pressure is building, that's where I'll focus my efforts. And it could be anything, it could be we're backed up on drinks, we're backed up on food, we're backed up on dishes, we're backed up on cleaning tables. I mean, you name it, right? I mean, we've got a whole thing going on out here. Because I know that just a little bit of effort in each of those areas makes the life of somebody else a little bit easier. It's like one less thing that they have to do. So then they can move on to other things that ideally give our customers a great experience, right? I mean, we want to make sure that everybody has the time and the bandwidth to give our customers a good experience here. And sometimes that means like, well, jump back here and help me out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, all that being the case,
yeah.
Is it game time?
Is it game
should we
time?
play? Should we do the game?
Would you like to play a
Let's
game?
do a game.
Let's do the game.
Let's play a game. All right.
Let's play a game.
This is the part.
We'll go into the brew house so that
okay.
there's no echo.
Natalie's on the move.
All right.
Natalie's heading back into our brewing area. Yeah, there's our shiny stainless steel tanks.
Really getting a sense of how big the space is just
Yeah.
by watching everywhere that
Oh,
Natalie's
yeah.
going with her laptop.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of space.
Very cool.
Well, they're on it's a 70
acres it was, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 70-acre farm.
We've got about a 7,000 square foot
Take you
facility
through
here. I'd say it's probably 2/3 or maybe half tap room space for customers, like our bar and our tap room.
Mhm.
And then the other half is like our production room,
Right.
our kitchen, back of house, employee areas, things like that.
Wow.
And you have a 15-barrel brew house, right?
Yes, 15 barrel brew house. We've got 15 and 30 barrel fermenters.
Very cool.
Very nice. We're
Natalie's
getting a
walking-
brewery
He's
tour
walking
right
through
now.
'em
Yeah,
right
I'm
now,
enjoying
yeah.
the virtual tour. That's cool.
The 15s are on the right, the 30s are
can.
on the left. We got a bunch of cans everywhere,
There's the cans.
I like to call this section the science section. Oh wait, where is it? Oh, the science section is over here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh,
so
yep.
it's all like measuring cups and things, yeah.
That's where Patrick gets deep. How did he say it? Patrick gets deep on the science.
Deep
there.
on the
Yeah.
science.
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
he's all into the science.
The official phrase is getting deep on the sciencey things. That's what we do
Deep
around
on
here.
the
We get deep on
science.
sciencey things.
I know. One
Deep on
time
the
I tried to
science.
do like a post where he was mixing things, and I was like, Patrick, how do I explain this? And I was like, do I just call it like science stuff? Like, is anyone actually gonna understand what I'm saying? And he's like,
Just leave
just
it at
call it
that.
science stuff.
How do I explain this?
We're
Like,
doing
I don't
science.
even know what you're doing.
It's either science or janitorial. That's what brewing is.
Pretty
Yeah.
It is. It's
Yes.
a lot of cleaning. It's also a lot of paperwork. They say brewing is 80% cleaning and 20% paperwork.
Yeah, it sounds about
That's
right.
it. That's all I do. I don't actually brew any beer. I just clean and do paperwork. All right. So what is the game setup? How we do this?
It's a silly little
well-
game where you have to pick what a weird ingredient is in a couple different beers.
Oh, that's
it's
what we're-
multiple
Oh,
choice.
we're playing There's Weird in My
Oh,
Beer.
you'd be terrible.
It's
at
very low stakes. Everybody's always terrible. Don't worry about it. It's just fun.
okay.
it. Perfect.
And it'll become clear as we go how it operates. It's very straightforward.
Okay. I'm in. Let's
All
tee
right.
it up. Actually, I'm gonna grab a beer for this.
All right,
So-
grab a beer.
Perfect.
Do I have to? You probably don't want me like spinning around.
So
and
now you're
around
like gonna
on
make
the
us
video
nauseous.
It's a cool
fine.
effect,
while
though.
you're recording here.
But
Yeah.
I'd
I love
rather.
I love how we start recording video and the two of them are like, we're gonna move.
All right, I'm sorry,
No,
guys.
no,
Yeah,
it's
I need one.
All right, you'll get a
Quick-
tour.
quick
Quick brew house tour,
Fireplace.
tap room
Yeah.
tour.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, I'm gonna have the chocolate chipotle porter while we're doing
I
this.
was
because
wondering if you had that.
this is the one that I've been most excited about.
That's a good one for the what's in the beer.
Yeah.
So
All
the
right, I'm
whole
all good.
reason
I'm all beard up here.
All right.
the whole reason I started brewing was because I wanted spicy beers because no one was
Oh.
making beers that were spicy enough. So is this going to have any spice to it?
It's going to have very mild spice. It's probably not going to have the kick that you want in it. I mean, I hate to disappoint. Like, we got the 12-ounce can thing, we got the spice thing.
Well, I really, and I just finished the toasted lager, and I enjoyed that one very much.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
You know, we put a
We're
bunch of
winning on
pepper
that.
in that beer, but it really mellowed out after the first like month. And man, we hit that thing with as much as we could. We put chipotle peppers in it, and then we basically put whatever peppers we could find in our garden. We have a garden here. And then I brought stuff from my home garden, and then one of my brewers brought stuff from his home garden. Man, we were just trying to light this thing up with as many peppers as we could, but we couldn't get that flavor to stick around. It was an experimental thing. So you're probably going to get some of the pepper. There's some pepper flavor in it still, but mostly like probably like the skin, not so much like the heat, you know?
I always like to put my fresh peppers in at flame out.
Yeah.
And then I would do dry peppers post. But it has a lovely flavor. It has no heat, but it's okay.
I love the honesty. That's what we need.
I will never lie to you about your beer. That's one thing we always tell people: we will never lie.
That's true.
If we say something is good, it's good.
Yeah.
It has no heat, and people get very scared. You're probably on, you're probably in the minority when it comes to those pepper beers, because normally people see that on the menu and they're like, "I'll have the IPA."
I do love myself a spicy beer. So there you go. It is, for some people, this may be weird in their beer. To me, it is normal.
It's all subjective.
It's all relative.
There's our transition.
It's all relative. Speaking of weird in beer,
Oh boy.
let's do it.
Okay.
Cheers, Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games. It is the podcast trivia segment that is proud to be a statistical outlier. Today, we are joined by Natalie and Patrick from Lost Barrel Brewing in Middleburg, Virginia. They will be facing off against my co-hosts Dan and Steph in a no-holds-barred battle for absolutely nothing. And today's game is Weird in My Beer. This is a game where I would tell you a little bit about a few different beers, and then you have to decide from 3 multiple choice options what the weird is in each beer. Pretty easy, and we will begin, as we always do, to my left with Dan to guess first on our first beer.
Pretzels.
You might want to
Okay.
hold your answer there. First off, we start
confident.
off. Yeah, there's a history with pretzels in this game. It's a whole thing. Pretzels are not in this beer. I don't think there's pretzels in any of these beers in this game today, actually. But I will tell you. I forgot to mention, all of the beers today are from Martin House Brewing, which is in Fort Worth, Texas. It is a brewery that churns out new beers weekly with lots of hazy IPAs, sours, and barrel-aged brews with head-turning recipes. So I specifically found a brewery that does a lot of beers with weird ingredients in them for this version of today's game. So all of these beers are from that brewery. There you go.
So cool.
There we go. Starting off with a fruited kettle sour that is aimed at mimicking the nostalgic flavors of grape juice. But that's not what makes it weird. The brewers added in one other of their favorite ingredients that might not be the first thing you think of to pair with grape. Is it garlic, mushrooms, or pickles?
Oh, that's all terrible.
Very strange noises you're making.
Pickles.
Dan is resignedly going with pickles.
Ah.
Steph, what do you think? Garlic, mushrooms, pickles.
Oh, Jesus.
Right?
You said it's a sour, right?
It's a kettle sour grape juice thing.
Well, Grape Ape is still one of my favorite beers ever. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Did not intend to
Diamond
open that
Tap
can of
beer,
worms.
I love Diamond Tap. So it's like my childhood coming full circle. And I love a good pickle beer. So yeah, I'll say pickles because I like grape stuff and I like pickles. I'm not sure that I like them together, but why not?
Two great tastes that go great together. Patrick, what do you think?
So I'm going to say mushrooms. Here's why. I think there's some earthiness to mushrooms, and I think if you're doing grapes, there may be some kind of earthy play there with the grapes.
Okay,
like similar
Patrick,
to wines.
Patrick, you're not playing this game correctly. If you try to use your logic brewing mind, it doesn't help.
That's true.
I will dumb it down next time.
Why'd you not be mushrooms now?
We're locking in mushrooms as your answer.
Final answer.
Final answer. And Natalie, last two answer. What is your answer? Final answer.
I was actually going to say mushroom, and I have no great explanation like Patrick. I was really just going to say mushrooms because I'm wearing brown, and mushrooms are brown.
See, that's how you play this game.
Yeah, that's how you play the game.
I will also say, though your point about the earthiness in mushrooms perhaps pairing
Makes
well
sense.
with some of the estery things going on in grapes is very well thought out, I will remind you that the grape flavor they were aiming for is like grapefruit punch, like grape juice, and not like, sophisticated adult grape flavor. Either way, it wasn't mushrooms, it was in fact pickles. Dan and
I kind of want this beer.
Correct.
It's going to be terrible, but
I don't know. It's called Best Made Grape Punch Pickle Beer, and it's made with Best Made brand pickles and grapes, presumably.
So if you had like bread and butter pickles, right, like sweet pickles that had this kind of brown sugary kind of flavor, I could see how that may sneak its way into a sweet beer like that.
That might could work. Yeah.
we may be inspiring a future Lost Barrel beer.
It could be. Could be.
There we go.
I could see something.
Oh, no.
there.
A grape pickle seltzer. I can see it now.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
I like that idea. I do like that idea.
Coming to a grocery
trademark
store
it.
shelf near you.
Yep,
Right.
Yep. Well, if anybody knows what pickles to use in what beer, it's the people at Martin House, because they are particularly fond of pickles, and they have many, many beers made with best made pickles, including a straight up pickle sour and a spicy pickle sour.
Oh,
There you go.
yes, please.
Yep, so
All
checking
right.
all kinds of boxes on that one. We're moving on to the next beer of the game, and Steph is going to guess first on this one. Now it's time for a late night snack in the form of a whiskey barrel-aged imperial stout. This monster includes peppermint, chocolate, cacao nibs, and a well-known sweet treat. Is it candy canes, Thin Mints, or Hershey's Kisses?
What brewery is this again?
Martin House. They're all
And where are
Martin
they
House,
located?
Texas.
Oh, Fort something.
Fort Worth, yes. I have to double check.
I wrote it down so I can go there when I'm in Texas.
Imperial Stout, peppermint, chocolate, cacao nibs, and
Thin Mints.
going with Thin Mints, Patrick.
No explanation why.
I'm going to go with Thin Mints too. I think that makes sense. If you have cocoa nibs, you don't really need the Hershey Kisses.
I thought you were just going to edit. I think that makes sense, and then just stop it.
And also, I generally don't recommend making beer with peppermints or like candy canes are like very peppermint flavored, because it's like brushing your teeth and then drinking a stout.
Yeah.
That's how I usually describe it.
I could see that.
That's my logic. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
All right. We've got 2 votes for Thin Mints. Natalie, what do you think?
I'm going to go Hershey Kisses because maybe they had a partnership with Hershey Kiss on that one.
Okay. A little branding action. All right. Finally, Dan.
I'm going to say Thin Mints because that has the chocolate and the mint flavor that the other ingredients have too, so it like complements.
But
both
wouldn't it
sides.
then be redundant?
I don't know, but it's also probably a gimmick.
Yeah, it's also the correct answer.
Hey,
because it
all
was,
right.
in fact, Thin Mints. Yes, it's a 12% ABV pastry behemoth, and it's called Kooky Monster.
Oh, boo.
Like with 2 Ks and no Cs. Aged for 3.5 months in fresh whiskey barrels with the addition of peppermint, chocolate, cacao nibs, and thin mint cookies turn the boozy treat into a decadent dessert, according to the brewer.
I approve of barrel-aged beers with chocolate and mint.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I'm not
I
saying
don't
anything
like
wrong.
pastry stouts, but there's something about like a barrel with it that like makes it fancier. It doesn't make it taste like you're just drinking like a candy beer. I don't. Does that make sense?
That
Yeah, I
makes
think
sense.
the vanilla from the barrel like smooths out those flavors.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
really what ends up happening there.
Yeah, and I think
so I could see that. I like those ingredients.
And so also something like this, that might be too much for me, but like a barrel-aged stout with just chocolate, I think is good. When you start getting into stuff that has like a million sweet ingredients and it tastes like a liquid candy bar, I'd love to have 5 ounces, but that's all I want. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. We had the mint, the barrel-aged mint stout from at Guinness, at the Baltimore Guinness Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. But yeah, I could only drink like, we shared it. There's no way I would have been able to drink a full pour of it, and it was only like a 10-ounce, one of the big.
Yeah.
glasses where they only give you a tiny bit, but it was good for a
One
few
beer,
sips.
2 spoons.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. 2 straws, maybe?
I want to start a whole other podcast just to call it that. 1 beer, 2 spoons. I feel like it's a perfect podcast name.
I really thick beer. Oh my god.
Okay. Where are we at? We are on our 3rd beer of the game, and that means Patrick's in the hot seat. You're going to guess first on this one, and we're back to sours this time around, but no fruit went into this one. This beer is a just north of sessionable kettle sour ale, and it's probably pretty much one note. But that one note might just be America's favorite food liquid. Is it
Food liquid?
ranch dressing,
Oh.
nacho cheese,
Oh.
or buffalo sauce?
What? Oh, God. I thought
You
I knew
said-
America, but wow.
You said ranch dressing, nacho cheese, or buffalo sauce?
Buffalo sauce.
And it's a
It's a
sour beer?
It's
kettle sour,
liquid.
no fruit.
It's got to be buffalo sauce.
All right.
It's got to be. I
Gotta
think
be.
the other two are just.
Oh
Wow.
my
I don't even know what to do with those other two.
Food
So,
liquid.
I got to go with buffalo sauce.
Words to live by. It's got to be buffalo sauce. All right, Natalie, what do you think?
Oh, I'm just gonna say ranch because I guess I'm just guessing everyone different.
Fair enough. That's as good a strategy as any other. Dan?
I'm going to say ranch
Yeah.
because it's versatile. Buffalo sauce and what was the other one?
Nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese. They have very
Mine
specific
cheese.
uses.
Nacho
Ranch, you can put on just about anything.
Ranch is
Very
the chicken
versatile.
of food liquid.
True.
The chicken of food liquid. Oh, God.
All right.
I don't know how I feel about that phrase.
Finally, Steph.
Okay, so my gut was the buffalo because vinegary and like kettle sours can be kind of vinegary.
Acidic. Yeah.
That kind of makes sense, but I don't with ranch like is it actually ranch dressing or could it be like ranch dressing inspired?
Yeah,
where there's,
like get the dill
use
in
the,
there
the
and-
flavors
yeah.
of
The
spices.
seasoning, right? The seasoning.
No, I cannot
I-
overthink this. I'm just gonna say buffalo sauce.
Saying buffalo sauce.
It's going to be nacho cheese because nobody guessed
With
it.
Good
corn.
choice.
And
Nope.
it's served.
It.
Please tell me it's served with a stalk of celery.
I don't know, but that is a suggestion in my follow-up comments. Because it is buffalo sauce. Is the correct.
Nice.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm actually doing well tonight.
Is, in
This is
fact,
unusual.
buffalo sauce. You remember we a while-ish ago had a balsamic vinegar porter,
Ooh,
Did we?
I want to say, in this game.
Okay.
And when
Oh.
you were talking
Oh.
about the vinegar sour combo, I was thinking back to that and thinking like it sounds
Yeah.
weird, but it might actually be.
I would drink that. I would
Yeah, I
drink
would
a
try it.
balsamic vinegar.
Yeah,
Did you say? I don't remember the beer style.
Is it
You
stout?
literally
I think
just
it was
said
a
20
stout.
seconds ago.
I think it was
Stout.
stout. I don't remember.
I would drink that.
But yeah, this one's made with buffalo sauce, and not just any buffalo sauce. Frank's Red Hot
Red Hot.
Buffalo
Ah,
Wings
well,
sauce.
yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes, the can proudly proclaims that the contents are literally a buffalo wing sauce beer.
Mm-hmm. I think I might have seen this before. I might have seen that beer. Frank's Red Hot beer.
Yeah.
That rings a bell.
It's definitely a headline generating beer. Like,
yeah, I feel
I
like
think-
it stands out on the shelf. You know,
I
Like,
feel like all of their beers are for that purpose.
yeah,
yeah, I
true.
commend them. I mean, they're getting creative over there.
Mhm.
They have a brand here.
Yep. And actually,
Love it.
I will say, at this point, I feel compelled to mention that the brewery in question here, Martin House, does make a lot of beers that are just normal, straight up, regular, traditional styles of beer. And they have
I
a
don't
huge
believe
fan
it.
base. They have a great online presence. They seem like a great brewery. And I'm sure some of these beers sound weird, but they might actually be good. They seem to know what they're doing. So no shade on them.
They better make a good clean lager so you have something to clean your palate between them.
Yeah,
They
Yeah,
do
you
make
gotta-
a pretzel stout, by the way.
they do.
if
And they
you're
also
having
make
a
a peanut
buffalo
butter
wing
pretzel
sauce beer, you got to have a beer with your beer. I mean, what do you like?
Right,
How do you
right.
even do that?
That's true. That's true. We've arrived to the penultimate beer of the game. One more after this, and we have come to, what are we on, 4? Natalie goes first on this one.
Woohoo!
Our next beer is, you guessed it, a sour ale. No fruit in this one either, but it does have lactose and some unexpected sticky sweetness from the addition of, is it bubblegum, taffy, or gummy bears?
Not at all where I thought that was going.
And you said it had milk.
Yeah, milk, sugar, lactose, yes.
I'm gonna go with the. What were the options? Gummy bears. Bubblegum.
I'm going to go with, what were the options? Gummy bears. Fair choice. Always go with gummy bears, Dan.
Oh crap.
Going with taffy. All right, Steph.
My gut was also taffy. So taffy.
All right, sticking with your gut. And Patrick.
I'm going to go with gummy bears because I can't imagine the kind of mess that would be created out of brewing with the other two options.
True.
And
Fair
I
enough.
don't know
Fair
how. Man, I don't know how you get through that. But if it is one of the other two, I'd be really curious. to see how
Well,
they
I
actually
would
do it.
also mention that the people at Martin House are definitely dedicated to doing whatever work it takes to put the weird thing in their beer. So
Yeah, sounds like it.
may not be. This is the first time in this entire game that everyone was wrong.
Oh.
The answer was bubblegum.
Bubble gum.
Bubblegum.
Bubblegum.
Jeez.
Do they chew it first?
I mean,
Like that Dogfish
chicha.
Head beer. Yeah. I don't know. They're
That's
actually.
a trade secret.
I actually.
You have to activate the sugars, just like the corn when you
Yeah.
make chicha.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But
Yes.
there actually wasn't much information on the.
Special enzyme reaction.
Yeah. Information on the process as to how what manner of bubblegum and how or when it was added in the process, I don't know. But it's called Bubblegum Eyes with a Z because spelling is for losers. And they describe it as simply a bubblegum lactose sour and say it looks like bubblegum, smells like bubblegum, and most importantly, tastes like bubblegum. No one got that one correct. They also have another bubblegum beer. They have like 3 pretzel beers, 5 pickle beers, like 3 bubblegum beers. It's crazy.
I mean, to be fair, bubblegum ice cream is good. So
Never
That
had
makes
it.
sense.
I'm not a big fan of bubblegum flavor. I get why people like it, but I don't think it's
You could say the other beer is a choose your own adventure.
Oh.
Oh, man, that one was just hanging out there for you, wasn't it? Nailed it.
so good.
Don't encourage him.
No, please, I need the encouragement.
All the fruit to choose from, you had to choose the ripest one. We are coming up to our last beer of the game, so we're going to add up the scores real quick to critically determine who's going to go first, second, third, or fourth. We have in the lead with 3 out of 4 points, Steph, so far.
All right.
Taking charge, tied right behind Steph with 2 points apiece are Dan and Patrick, and currently in last place with no hope of changing that.
Zero.
With no points is Natalie.
I told you I was going to be really bad.
There's always someone who gets no points in every game. It just has to happen.
All right.
But that does mean you get to guess last, so you get to hear everyone else's guesses first. Not that it's going to matter because you can't even tie at this point, but it is what it is. So we'll make Steph go first, then we'll go Dan, Patrick, Natalie, if I can remember that for the next 30 seconds.
Dan Patrick.
Steph, our next final beer. We are ending with a beer that may have crawled out from the depths of cosmic horror.
Oh dear.
It's called Azathoth, which I'm telling you now because it's not going to help you in any way with this question. It's a 16% ABV Imperial Ale that contains all the forbidden secrets of the universe, as well as, is it menthol and squid ink,
Oh, no.
lemon and liquid smoke, or peppermint and seaweed?
What was the tagline of the beer again?
It's called Azathoth. How do you say it? Azathoth?
Yeah, but what you said something about all the something of the universe.
Oh, I just made all that shit up.
Oh.
Well, that's just not fair.
I'll do.
That's
I'll
not
do
like marketing
squids.
copy. What did you say?
Squids.
Okay, you
Squids.
All right. So that means Patrick, I said, was going to... Did I say Dan or Patrick?
I think it said me next.
All right, Dan's going to go next.
Dan Patrick.
That's why I remembered that. Thank you.
That's
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
I'm also going to say squid ink, and I have reasoning that I will
gonna
reveal
withhold-
later.
withhold your reasoning because you aren't the last to answer. All right, Patrick?
I'll go lemon and liquid smoke because gotta go. I mean, we can't all agree on this.
I mean,
When
we
life
can't-
gives you lemons,
can't change
smoke
the
'em.
score if we all voted on the same thing.
This is true.
Lemon and liquid smoke actually sounds delightful.
It could be
It's
nice.
like
Yeah.
a Polish smoke beer. Like
And
I mean,
I see a lot of places using liquid smoke now, like in craft cocktails and things like that. It just seems to be kind of a fun thing to do. So
how about
sure, that
lemon,
feels good.
lemon and liquid smoked seltzer?
There you go.
There's another one. All right. Well, we've got
I'm gonna try that.
We've got 2 votes for menthol and squid ink. 1 vote for lemon and liquid smoke. No votes for peppermint and seaweed. The time has come, Natalie. What is your choice?
Well, obviously I'm going peppermint and seaweed because it's just weird combo. And I mean, how do you make those two up? So
I feel like
that's
menthol
where I'm
and
going.
peppermint are too intrusive. Like they're just like 2 sharp flavors that would just like cut through everything
But
else.
it is like a 16.9% beer.
Also true.
That's true.
It's a big one. Natalie,
yes, that's
I
important too.
must regrettably inform you that you continue to have 0 points.
Oh no!
At least I went strong with a solid 0. If I got 1 at that point,
That would have been like, what
Not
am
worth
I
it.
even doing here? Yes. Dan and Steph were correct. It was menthol
Hey!
and squid ink. And I will sum up the beer with a quote. The thing cannot be described. There is no language for such abysms of shrieking and immemorial lunacy, such eldritch contradictions of all matter, force, and cosmic order. A mountain walked or stumbled. That is
what a description. Their beer description maker needs to write like a novel at this point.
I will correct you because that was not a beer description writer. That was, in fact, the novelist H.P. Lovecraft
Oh, well, there we go.
from The Call of Cthulhu.
Of course it would be Cthulhu.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah. That guy's good.
That guy's good. He knows what he's talking
Oh,
about.
plus
Doing good at his
Cthulhu was
job.
like squiddy, so like it plays in. All right, I get it.
Yeah.
That wasn't my reasoning because I didn't know that part.
Oh, I thought that was your reason.
No,
I
you
thought
said-
you had made the Eldritch Lovecraft
No,
connection.
I
Okay.
that was over the head. You said universe, and universe is
I can't
black, and
imagine
squid ink
putting
is black.
menthol in something. It's got to be like such an overpowering flavor.
Yeah, I can't even,
Yeah.
like, peppermint. Like, I agree with you. I'm not a fan of peppermint, and I think it is super overpowering. But I could see using it and stuff. Menthol, I just feel like, why? Why would you not just use pepper? Like, I feel like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Well, they did it, and they sold it. People bought it and drank it.
Good
Some of
for
like,
them.
We're
I'm
zigging and they're
impressed.
zagging. That's just the.
Like I
just how
said,
it goes.
this place seems really cool, and they seem like, I mean, their beers are weird, but it seems like they make some really good beers, so I'm not throwing any shade at them. They seem like a cool
I'm going
place.
to try to go there when I'm in Dallas this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%
They
following
sound
them
very
on
creative.
Instagram immediately.
Yeah, they seem really cool. Very cool. So we'll add up the scores, see who won, lost, tied, and whatever else. And at the top of the heap with a near perfect score, 4 out of 5, is Steph, our big winner today. Congratulations. Congratulations. Just behind Steph with 3 points is Dan. Just behind Dan is Patrick. And a little further behind, as previously mentioned with no points, is Natalie. But we had fun, and that's all that matters. And this fun has been facilitated by our generous patrons on Patreon. And we would like to thank our most generous patrons right now in our patron shout-out segment. I've never introduced it that way, and I don't know where to go next.
Yeah, I'm confused.
I decided to try some new words, and I got lost. All right, we thank you very much to these people, beginning with Jen McDonald.
Folkfinger.
P.A. Brew Review,
I'm teaching you a little type anus.
Eric Dixon.
Oh.
Dana.
Dan, right?
Damn it.
James Lamberg.
Filled with yummy goodness.
Whoa. As I said James Lamberg's name, I got an Instagram notification that James Lamberg has added to his story. Like literally at the same second. That was weird. Shout out, James. You're a wizard. Chris Mahoney.
We never got it up.
Sean Sullivan.
I'm so fancy. You didn't even know?
Brian Mills.
What side are you on?
Jill Chivers.
It's got a hair done.
Classic. Joe Mansell.
Fire away.
The one and only That's No Baloney. Topher Simmons.
Nailed it.
And finally, Ben Mengel.
Salty pretzels.
If you want to find out how you can get your name on this list, how you can get other cool behind-the-scenes perks, go to patreon.com/beerbusters to learn more. But now we're going to play some commercials.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
This episode is brought to you by Vinyl Me Please. Vinyl Me Please is a Record of the Month club. Every month, they feature one album that is essential to the modern vinyl collection. They send it to thousands of members worldwide. As a member, you're going to get features you won't find anywhere else, like bonus tracks, inserts, colored variants, 12x12 exclusive album-inspired art, and even a custom cocktail pairing recipe. They work closely with the label and artist to come up with something you're not going to find anywhere else. Colored vinyl, custom lyric books, and personal notes from the artist. The membership is flexible and will work for you and with you. And they know that trusting someone else with your music can be pretty scary, which is why you can substitute a record of the month with one from the VMP archives. There's no contract, no strings, no guilt trips, and you can cancel at any time, and they don't have any hidden fees, including shipping. Shipping is included with your membership. A couple examples of VMP Artists of the Month include Van Morrison, Queen, Muddy Waters, Beck, Mitski, Arctic Monkeys, Miles Davis, and Weezer. To find out more and sign up today, head over to joinvmp.com/beerbusters. Again, that is joinvmp.com/beerbusters.
So I do want to mention the food, because in my opinion, any good destination brewery needs to hold up their end of the deal when it comes to food. I was going to say recently, it wasn't so recently. We visited Shy Bear, in central Pennsylvania, which was a good, hour and a half drive for us. The beer was good, which we knew the beer was good because we've had their beer, but the food, it was like, this was worth the drive because this food met my expectations. So I will say, looking at the pictures from the website and your Instagram feed and looking over this menu, this food looks pretty impressive. And even though I've already had dinner, it is making me really, really hungry. So I'm curious about, I don't know how to ask this question, but you have like big lofty goals for this destination brewery. What was the conversation like? How did you come up with this menu?
Well, we started off by partnering with an executive chef from the beginning, basically. So,
surrounding yourself with experts. I'm seeing
surround
a theme
yourself
here.
surround yourself with wonderful people that are more talented than you. That is the recipe for success. So we partnered with an executive chef. We actually stood up an entire catering company along with the craft beer brewery, and the catering company is called Loco Kitchen. Loco is for Loudoun County. LOCO.
I was gonna ask.
Oh,
See what we did there.
I like that.
And they have a wonderful commercial kitchen space, and they handle all the food creation for our brewery here. But they also are a wonderful catering operation also. So when we have special events out here, that's a natural fit because we're in partnership for our food, but also for other events, offsite, what we consider offsite events, basically events that are not here. They're a wonderful catering company. But, from the inception, what we wanted a high quality food operation, and we wanted to have some control over that, control over the menu, control over the quality of the food, the delivery of the food, the customer experience around just ordering and consuming the food. We didn't want to outsource it to the food truck community. Now, there is a booming food truck community out there, and it goes very hand in hand with the craft beer community. I used to work with food trucks very closely. I mean, gosh, food trucks are like gourmet operations now. I mean, it's crazy what like some of the chefs that go on their own and start these like amazing food trucks and things like that. And that is the route that a lot of places go. But when we looked at that option versus having our food operations under our own control, we saw a lot of advantages in having control over it. We could control the quality, we could control the variety, the things that we wanted to present, where if you're going to outsource it to somebody else, you're not going to have the overhead of managing that operation, but you're also not going to have any sort of creative control either. So we wanted to bring all that in-house so that we could have all operations under one roof, if that makes sense. And we could apply the same processes, the same thoughtfulness, the same, mission statement and things like that through our food service operations, in addition to our tap room and our beer making operations. That was a thought behind it when we started.
Side note, I really appreciate the notes under each item.
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
If it contains allergens, I myself, I'm a vegan during the week and a vegetarian on the weekends, but I appreciate that, vegetarian items are clearly listed and, how to order it if I want to make it vegan. It just eliminates that like, oh, is the server going to think I'm a pain in the ass if I'm asking a million questions? It just, makes it so much simpler. And it's like, doesn't even take up that much space on the menu. I love how it's just there. It's helpful. It does, so I just really, really appreciate that. And I like how the menu is the kind of food that you hope to have when you're going to go have beer, but it's not the same as the beer not the same as all the food that you get when you go to have beer, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, you have like hummus, but it's like spinach feta hummus. And it's just like almost slightly elevated than what you would expect, I guess. That's my take on it, but everything looks really tasty.
Sure. Well, thank you. And we do try to make, as we were saying earlier, it inclusive for everyone and somewhere that everyone can come to. So that's a big part of putting the allergy information in, to keep everyone knowing what they can eat and kind of to open the conversation, like you said. So if you do have an allergy, we are open to talking to you about it and working with you on it so that you can feel like you're going to be able to eat and not injure yourself or something.
That's a really, really good point. It makes you feel like if you have a special dietary need, you're not going to feel like a jerk if you have to have a conversation
you're included.
about it.
The question I have about that then would be, is there any kind of special training the staff has to go through if somebody says, oh, I'm allergic to peanuts or, anything like are there like, I've never worked in a restaurant. I don't know what goes into that. So I'm genuinely curious. How does that work? Do you tell them about this stuff? Do they just like pick it up along the way, or is there a special training?
We try to make it easy for them. We have cheat sheets and things like that show, by menu item, by side item, by even down to like the sauces. Like what are the things that this contains? I think it's like 8 or 9 common allergens that something could contain, right? It's like wheat, soy, gluten, there's lactose or milk, there's all kinds of things on there. And so basically it's like a big cheat sheet for everybody. So the staff is all aware of that. That way, as it does come up, if it's not called out specifically in the menu, or if there's something that is like in doubt, after the menu description, they can sort of pull that. And then that's the way that they can communicate to our customers. Like, hey, here's the real nitty gritty breakdown if we have to get down to the details of every single ingredient in this dish. So, that's an important thing for our customer experience too, is just making sure that our staff know that and that they can communicate that out. That we provide that information to them, right. So that they can communicate it out and that they're trained and just aware of the situation that folks are in when they're asking that question.
So when you guys are dining there, what's your favorite thing to order?
Ooh.
Go ahead, Natalie. What you get?
The spinach feta hummus is really good.
Yeah.
It's very tasty. I like the pita crisp. They're cool. And then trying to think, we have chicken wings or chicken tenders, depending on, and I think that the sauces and the seasoning on those is really unique in terms of how you can mix and match it. So that's really good too. And the salads are good. I like the salads.
I'm a big mark for our spicy buffalo chicken sandwich just because I like the spicy stuff. And then I feel like drinking one of those Frank's Red Hot beers, like with that. But then I'll eat that, I'll drink that beer, and then I'll need another beer to wash it all down.
Well, then you're going to have to find that elusive ranch dressing beer.
Yeah, you got to find the ranch dressing beer.
There's got to be one
all on
there.
the table and just line it all up together. But our flatbreads are also really good. I'm kind of a mark for, little individual pizzas. So they're great. I mean, we've got it's like elevated pub food. So we have like a margarita flatbread, and it's got the mozzarella and the tomato, and it's got a basil drizzle on it, right? It's amazing. It's really wonderful. And then we created this Philly cheesesteak style pizza, right? That like has like the meat and the onions and some sauce and things like that. That's really great too.
So would you recommend that to somebody who's lived in Philly for 15 plus years?
Oh, I don't know if I want to open myself to that kind of scrutiny. Well, I know how serious you guys take the cheesesteaks. So
wait, translation: he knows that people from Philly can be assholes. That was the right answer.
Absolutely, yeah, we're the worst. We are the absolute worst. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
A little rough around the edges, I would say.
I would just say I hope you enjoy it.
I'm sure it's good. I think a cheesesteak pizza is good no matter who.
Oh
makes
my
it.
god! Of course, I'm sure this is delicious. Absolutely, I'm sure this is incredible. What I really like is that a lot of breweries will have their beer cheese or whatever, but yours is specifically a Lost Barrel IPA pimento cheese.
Yes,
and I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that with their own beer in their cheese, and that's awesome because I don't have the spice appreciation that Steph does, but I like a good kick every now and then.
The pimento does provide a nice little zip to the beer cheese, but and then our chef takes our IPA, like he'll fill growlers off the tap right behind me here, and he'll take that and he'll use that to make the beer cheese.
Oh, that's
for
so
us.
cool.
So it's a great, I mean, it's awesome process. So again, like wonderful to surround yourself with people who are so creative and talented that they can take these things and work them together into something better than anyone could ever imagine. So that's worked out really well for us.
My eye was caught by s'mores kit because
I saw that. Yeah.
And they have fire pits.
That's just going to say, which leads me because it's a kit.
They kind
it's
of go
not
hand
just
in hand.
S'mores. It's like the stuff to make s'mores, and then you get to make them yourself. So you have
Is that
like
how that works?
Outdoor space and. All right.
You cracked the code.
I cracked the code.
Can you tell we're getting to the end of the line here?
Yeah, we're getting close to the end here. But I did want to bring up, because that did make me remember that I wanted to mention, what does the outdoor space there look like? I mean, there's fire pits. What's like the seating event kind of stuff going on in the physical space there?
All right, so we have 3 fire pits outside. You're like, I can tell I'm getting ready into like my spiel I give all the time. So we have 2 gas fire pits and 1 is wood. We provide the wood. You don't have to worry about that.
Oh,
That's
cool.
actually a question we get a lot. And then we have a porch outside that has heaters on it as well. We have a bunch of picnic tables and Adirondack chairs outside. So there's lots of outdoor space. You can also bring your own blanket. We have QR codes on every table. And there's also stumps throughout our property that have QR codes. So say you're here and you want a picnic, you just pop up next to the stump, you order from your phone, and everything gets brought out to you. So it makes it easy if you have like a dog or your kids are running around, or you're just really enjoying yourself. And then we do have a separate building as well that is a restored 2-stall barn. So the bottom floor of it is called the saloon. It's an indoor-outdoor space. It's got wood on the wall. It's pretty rustic. It's really cool looking. And then above that, it's called the studio, because it used to be a studio apartment that someone rented before we owned the property. And that's more of like a feminine feeling of a space. It's got nice lighter floors, white walls, bathroom in it. So you can rent all of those spaces. They're really cool. And we get a lot of just normal weekend renters just wanting to have a space to reserve for themselves, or if they're having a birthday party, bridal shower, rehearsal dinner, whatever you name it, we've got the space for it for sure.
And then as far as regular events, music, that kind of stuff, what do you guys have going on there on a normal week?
Ooh, all right. So on a normal week, we have music trivia where it's 4 rounds, and then each round has 10 songs. We'll play the first 15 seconds of the song, and you have to guess the name and the artist. So it's very different than any other trivia. It's more like name that tune. And then we also have live music. We usually have either a 1 to 2 person group or a band. And then on Sundays, we actually have a live DJ. So that's really fun.
Oh, cool.
And then as far as other events, we try every Sunday to have a nonprofit fundraiser. So we donate a portion of the beer sales. There's nothing that the customer has to do. It's all coming from us. Just giving a space for nonprofits. Sometimes they'll treat it as where they do like a donor appreciation where they have them all come out and hang out, or they have us just announce it so that there can be a donation made. So pretty cool. We like to participate in all the local events as well. So if it's not at the brewery, we're participating in another event out in the community.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Always cool things to do.
We created a thing called Sunday Fun Days, right? And that's really been a great thing that we got going out here. I mean, we get approached by a lot of nonprofit organizations, as you can imagine. A lot of businesses do, because there are a lot of small nonprofits, small, medium, big nonprofits all across the board that are trying to raise money for a lot of great causes. And so we get hit up all the time. And the unfortunate thing about being a small business is that a lot of times you have to say no, because you can only give to so many different causes and in so many different ways. So it's not endless in the ways that you can contribute. What we found out is that if we can use our space to do fundraisers for these nonprofit organizations, we get so much more, bang for our buck, basically, where we will donate money based off of the proceeds of beer that we sell during a certain time. So we literally do this every single Sunday. So that way we can say yes to a lot of nonprofit organizations. We've worked with, at this point, I don't know how many. Over the course of the year, we filled up almost the entire calendar with, different nonprofit organizations every single Sunday where we raised money and donated to them. And the thing is, not only are we raising money through proceeds of beer during a set amount of time on a Sunday, but everybody that comes through the door, that's an opportunity for the nonprofit organization to raise awareness for their cause. And so they get an opportunity to disseminate information and get additional funding or just additional awareness, to whatever they're trying to do. So that's been a wonderful way for us to use the business and use the facility in a way to support lots of nonprofit organizations in the area. So it's something we're really, really proud of, and we're going to continue to carry into 2022 and expand into 2022 as far as ways that we can fundraise, how creatively we can work with these nonprofit organizations to be a vehicle for raising funds and awareness.
That's a really cool sort of response to the problem of like wanting to like say yes to everybody, but not being able to, obviously, because who could, and so giving what resources you can have. You have space, you have time, you have a facility, so that's a really good approach to take. And like you said, in a lot of cases, it probably works out better for the nonprofit. That's cool.
It does. Sometimes they come through the door looking for a simple donation. Can you guys donate a growler to a auction that we're trying to do, or could you contribute a little bit of money to this fundraiser for the school or this and that? And I say, let's do one better. Let's get your folks out here on a Sunday and we'll fundraise together from our customers. It's so much more impactful, and then they get to they really get to reach a wider audience. They get to raise additional funds. So I really like the way that it's worked out. It really does. It's us trying to get clever about maximizing the space to maximize the way that we contribute to our local community. And it's a great way to say yes to a lot of organizations, whereas normally we wouldn't be able to say yes to them. Not to all of them, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's cool because you don't have to be part of the nonprofit to get your money donated. So the day after on Monday, I always go into our back end and I'll select the time that the event was and all of the beer sales. I'll put that into the calculator. So you don't have to say you're part of the nonprofit. Just by like existing in our tap room during it, you're
contributing,
donating to it, basically.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like this idea. This is really cool because it is more of like a community impact than, donations are great, but to your point, Patrick, it does it one better because it is more of the community. Like people I'm sure come in on Sundays and have no idea that they're going to be, they're in their mind, they're just coming out and drinking, having a good time and supporting a local business. And then they get the added benefit of, oh, cool, I'm also supporting a local charity or a local, school or whatever it is. I feel like if I had that sprung on me and I were somewhere, I would be I would be a lot more likely to go back.
Especially because it's not the, when you're in the checkout line and they're ringing you out, like, would you like to donate $1 to da-da-da-da-da? And you feel like a bad person.
You already bought the beer and also part of this goes
You're already
towards
paying for the beers, just so you know the money's going to this cause.
That's so cool. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah, and it works for to-go beer too, which is kind of cool because you can be like, all right, well, I'm buying beer for a good cause. Here's my excuse. Let me go on the 6-pack. Let me get a 6-pack for my friend, maybe for this person. So.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's funny. I like that.
So if anyone out there would like to learn more about this program, or I guess just Lost Barrel in general, where should they go? Where can I direct people?
All right, we are on Instagram and Facebook at Lost Barrel Brew. We're on TikTok at Lost Barrel Brewing. Our website is lostbarrel.com. Yeah, we got lots of places. Just make sure that nothing says company after it. We are just Lost Barrel Brewing.
Okay.
Perfect.
Got it.
Perfect. I like it.
We're on TikTok too.
Yeah, TikTok. They call it TikTok. That's why I said that.
Well, yeah.
Dig Dug.
We're TikTok novices.
To say the
yes,
least.
I tried to it. I make them participate against their will.
Steph might be TikToking as we speak.
I'm trying.
Trying to. Yeah. We might have two talks. TikTok. I don't even know what you call them. Posts.
Is it just a TikTok? Is that what they call the post?
I mean, it's a post. I'm an adult. I'm going to call it a post. It doesn't need a silly name. It's a post.
Do you tell people to go to your TikTok page?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, if people want to go to our TikTok page,
Oh
Dan,
God, is it a page? I don't even know anymore. So on not only just TikTok, but also Instagram and Twitter, we're at Beer Busters. There is Facebook. We are Beer Busters Podcast. There's also beerbusterspodcast.com where you can add /shop and get some cool, sweet merch designed all by our very own Wayne Baker. There's YouTube. We are Beer Busters Podcast. And there's, of course, patreon.com/beerbusters.
all those places. Beer Busters. We're on the internet.
We are, in fact, on the internet. That is pretty much exclusively where we exist.
That's true.
Oh, man. This was great. Patrick, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing, and I can't wait to get down to Virginia and visit you guys in person and drink some of your beers, and hopefully it'll be on a Sunday where I can support a local charity.
This was a wonderful experience. We appreciate you having us. Thank you so much, and I hope you do have a chance to come down, and we'd be happy to host you if you do.
Fantastic. I'm up for the road trip.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
I think, unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters, and I'm learning that I need to travel more. So this is a good lesson to learn, a very good lesson to learn, and I can't wait to get there. Well, I want to say again, thank you to both of you for joining us. I would also like to say thank you to you out there listening to this right now. We can't do this without you. Favor we would ask is if you give us a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on, and do that for all the podcasts you listen to. If you like them, tell the algorithm. The algorithm's going to get more people involved.
Let your voice be heard.
Exactly. Well, I'm Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist.
Can you edit a TikTok? I don't even know if that's a thing.
And the demented and fermented.
Unfermented batches of corn sugar.
Squids?
No squids were harmed in the making of this episode.
Yeah, it's just shortened to squids now.
Squids.
Squids.
No squids. You said 2.5 squids were mildly inconvenienced in the recording of this episode.